You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
So down in Portland, we've got gun violence off the charts. You know when you have those charts and they kind of go up and they go down? Well, Portland's is going straight up. Got more homicides there than record levels of homicides. And leadership in Portland, commissioners want more cash, not cops, in the fight against gun violence. So they are wanting to involve park rangers and support for community groups, but not funding the police. Because in the past, bringing in civilians has never worked in the fight against gun violence, but it'll probably work now, right? No. That's what we're talking about today. That's what we're going to do. Thank you for those of you who sent me in this article. I am reading this from KOIN.com, news service, or one of the networks down in Portland. If you're new here, my name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of side hustles, is what my cousin Tyler and I decided that I'm going to now term my real estate companies that are both well over 20 years in existence, but nobody wants that because those companies sound like they're run by old people, and nobody wants to deal with an old person. So I'm talking about my real estate companies. They're side hustles. They are virtually startups, right? Reynolds and Klein Appraisal, Summit Properties Northwest. But we don't care about that. Let's read the news. Commissioners want more cash, not cops. No on the police in the fight against gun violence. Proposal authored by multiple Portland City Commissioners calls for park rangers and support for community groups. Whenever I hear park rangers, I always think of the cartoon Yogi Bear and the park ranger in that one. And I kind of think, you don't want Yogi Bear's park ranger fighting the gun violence in Portland because they use real bullets down in Portland. They're just whacking each other by the daily, right? Some members of the Portland City Council have put forth a proposal aimed at combating gun violence in the city, and it does not include increased funding for police. That is, to us reasonable people, does this just seem ludicrous? Does it seem crazy? If you're new here and you haven't followed the amount of gun violence going on in Portland, it is a shooting range down there. I'm recording this on a Friday, and this past Tuesday and Wednesday in like a 24-hour period, and maybe it's 36 hours. I don't know. They had 3 major shootings. A couple of people died. I mean, this is just going on. The proposal, which KOIN 6 News obtained Thursday from the office of Commissioner Carmen Rubio, is in response to a $2 million proposal floated by Mayor Ted Wheeler for the Portland Police Bureau's Enhanced Community Safety Team. It's interesting. When the rubber hits the road, the mayors in these cities go, oh man, all that talk about defunding the police, we know that was just... I'm going to get this crappy video off my screen. We know that was just some talk, and we were reimagining and rethinking. And now that, oh my gosh, we realized that defunding the police didn't really probably work out all that well. But, we're still going to try it in different aspects. Even though that didn't work out all that well, we're going to talk about it. We're going to reimagine it. We're going to rethink it. But here in the city of Seattle, our mayor has kind of been against the big whacks to the police budget because she knows. And Ted Wheeler, he knows the fastest way to get ahead of this gun violence problem, put some more cops on the street, get a bunch of teams out there. That's what they are trained to do. That's what they should be doing, not park rangers. No go on those guys. This is ridiculous. In my opinion, this is ridiculous. In a small town where you don't have a lot of violence, I mean, there's some small towns where cops don't even carry guns because they don't need to. There's no incidences. Everybody's pretty peaceful, pretty mellow. They keep their guns in their truck for the farm, and they're not running around shooting each other like they are in Portland. So in those communities, I'd say, hey, if you can make it work and you eliminate your police or you defund your police budget because you don't need it, that's one thing. But Portland is already way understaffed as far as the police department goes. Reading an email sent to me by police officer that was giving me some info on just the numbers that society needs of a certain city size. Portland's way undermanned. Seattle is now after a couple hundred cops quit too. And everybody's like, good, we need to defund the police because that is the smartest thing we can do to bring out all this social justice equity stuff, right? No, I don't think so. That even the mayors are like, okay, yeah, we need to spend some more money and get a handle on this because this is not a good look for our city. And guess what? Innocent people are being killed. And that's where I kind of draw the line. It's like, all right, your social experiment is great if there's no consequences, but by your inaction of what you're doing right now, you're letting other people get killed. Bottom line, right? When the mayor brought forth his proposal, he also offered space for feedback and collaboration around that proposal, Rubio's office said in a statement. At this point, the question is not what proposal is supported and which is opposed, but rather what elements everyone can support. With those in mind, we're working together to develop a proposal that disrupts cycles of gun violence and results in real systems change. We look forward to sharing a cohesive proposal once one exists. In the meantime, we are reimagining, rethinking, and experiencing skyrocketing gun violence. I added that last statement in there because that's the truth. Instead, the proposal released by Rubio seeks to invest, here you go, $3.5 million in various organizations that work with communities impacted by gun violence, another $600,000 to build up small or emerging contractors like Word is Bond and Redstone Collective, and $1.4 million to expand park ranger patrols. All right, I don't have an issue with putting some money towards Word is Bond and Redstone Collective and expanding park ranger patrols. Hey, if they're going to do some good stuff, that's great. But you got a gun violence issue, and park rangers and these community groups, those are not the people you want to send out there to deal with gun violence right at this moment. And when you've got Shooterville, which is Portland, you got to do something a little more drastic. And the guys that know how to handle this, they've got the badges on. They've got the badges on. They are the police. That's my opinion. I don't see any other way around this. If you had maybe very minimal levels of violence and things were kind of maybe starting to take off just a little bit, but a shooting every now and then and you wanted to get ahead of the game, fine, do this kind of stuff. You need to be Johnny on the spot and get some more cops in there pronto. That's my call. What do I know? I'm a real estate guy. But I mean, that's just the way we've always done things. And I'm not saying that's the way to do it, but there's a reason we have policemen and women, police women. Don't forget police women. Why is everything always so sexist? It's always about men, right? There's always man. Got to say person. And when I say man, I always mean, both sexes, because there's female cops out there too, right? It's just you always go to that default and policemen. But you want more cops, no matter what sex they are, on the street. You want people trained to handle this stuff. And people are so afraid of, well, we might have another, episode where one cop out of, 100,000 in the United States does something, and we're trying to avoid that. And in the meantime, you're defunding the police and you're putting these communities, which are communities of color so often. And that's what's going on in Portland. Read a story yesterday, a podcast yesterday, and they're basically coming right out and saying, hey, this is impacting, the communities of color the most. And that's what we're trying to do is reach out to our community and get some education and stuff going on with our kids so that our social media, which glorifies gun violence, we try and quell that. We're trying to figure out the whole addiction thing. We're trying to figure out the whole mental health issue thing because you got a bunch of crazy people running around. And literally, and other people are kind of going, well, yeah, but we want to respect our fellow human beings, and we don't want to incarcerate them, and we don't want to institutionalize them, and we don't want to send them to treatment if it's against their will. And in the meantime, folks just do stuff, and it's not getting any better. All right, Redstone Rudy Cerna, the foundation of Redstone Collective, which is, we're talking about putting $600,000 into that and a couple of other collectives, said he was excited to be included in the proposal. Cerna is an artist and a teacher and mentor to the homeless, as well as gang and drug-impacted youth. Okay, that is fine at a certain level. but you've got ongoing gun violence that you've somehow got to get ahead of and get under control. I don't think an artist and a teacher and a mentor to the homeless, and as well as gang and drug impacted youth, I don't think like a counselor type thing is really going to work here. Because you got people out there that don't care, that are pulling out their nines and shooting each other. Right? I mean, that's what we're talking about. News story after news story after news story. You've got this. And yet here's our response. Well, we're going to get some community liaison going on, and we're going to get some education going on. I don't know. I feel bad for these communities because I don't think that's going to work. You need something more severe. Put some more cops on the street. Get a hold of that issue, and then go to more of this stuff with the, people who have experience with that. And that's the longer term approach, because eventually you want to have a situation where you don't have this ongoing violence, right? Where people aren't getting murdered every single night. It's not that bad, but it's not that good either. Cerna said he had experience with gangs in Chicago as a youth, and the impact of teachings from the Native American community shaped his art and the mission at Redstone Collective. All sounds great, but is that you hire somebody like this to come in, is that going to do anything? Here in the city of Seattle, we've got our former pimp, Gorgeous Dre, and I haven't heard much of what's going on there. There's been it's been kind of radio silence as far as that. If anybody knows what's going on, is Gorgeous Dre, is Andre Taylor, is he still around? Is he still with us? I don't know. Let me know. Put it in the comments, right? Because he was hired to de-escalate some of the violence in Seattle. I haven't really read much. Don't really know. Been no reports. As I got older, I realized it was a way I could relate to these young people really quick, so I let myself be vulnerable and share these stories, he said. The kids that are in those situations, I know truly have come to a place in their life where they are not seeing any other choices, and they are in survival mode. And I know I can remind them there is another way. All right? Okay? Maybe there is some to that. I'm willing to give that a chance. But man, if that doesn't work out, I'm kind of thinking, all right, we were reimagined, we rethought, and we kind of knew up front that wasn't going to be the right thing to do. But I think there is such an anti-sentiment towards anything police right now that we're overlooking the obvious solutions was put some more damn cops on the street. That's kind of how I see it. I don't see too many other ways. In the memo, commissioners recommend adding 24 park rangers to patrol 12,000 acres of city parkland. What is that? 500 acres a person? I mean, you know how big an acre is? It's 43,000. And is my math wildly off on that one? 12,000 divided by 24. Whatever that is, per the park rangers, that's how big of an area they are going to have to be covering. Can't do math anymore in my head, right? So an acre is 43,560 square feet. It's a big area. Now you got 12,000 of those bad boys. All right, we're going to put 24 new park rangers in the city, and they're going to just quell the violence. They're just going to, they're just going to be running around, and hopefully randomly they'll be in the right place at the right time. Does this work? And they're only going to do that from May to December. The rest of early spring, no go. I don't know why that is. The proposal states these rangers who are not sworn officers use a combination of education and positive engagement to reduce harm to park resources and the visitor experience. What about the guys coming in blasting? What do we do there? So the unarmed rangers address the guys coming in with, chambered rounds and ready to roll. How does that work out? I don't want to find out. They can kick people out of the city parks and also issue civil penalties. So can the cops, and they have guns. Man, I don't know. Am I just off my rocker here with this kind of stuff? All right. In this KOIN article, KOIN.com article, the entire proposal is here. It was put out March 26th. It's very long. You can read that online if you want. I am not going to bother you with the details. While this proposal does not advocate for additional Portland Police Bureau funding, those who support the plan want the Bureau to shuffle its resources to create 6 new assault investigative detectives and 1 sergeant. So assault investigative detectives, after the fact, let the crime happen, but have some more people to follow up. Okay, they probably need a lot more than that, but most of the crimes happening in Portland police are just straight up, kind of like Seattle Police Department, saying, don't have the manpower to investigate. If somebody gets assaulted, hey, we're sorry that happened to you. Probably not going to really follow up. And even if we do and we find somebody, we're probably not going to prosecute them because, love your fellow human being, give them another chance is more important than, addressing the victim of the crime. Hey, you had all that happen to you. What's your restitution? Nothing. That's what's going on in Seattle and in Portland. This council cannot prioritize any new investments to the Portland Police Bureau or the Office of Violence Prevention until we develop a comprehensive plan and timeline to build a community-centered safety system that is right for Portland and co-led by the community. Once we have that vision, we will evaluate for its cost. The head palm thing, it's like, what is wrong with you? No wonder you've got gun violence going off the charts. If this is how you handle it, you are literally standing around talking about reimagining and rethinking. You're not even doing it. You're just talking about doing that in the future. And in the meantime, innocent people are losing their lives. Am I wrong here? Am I missing something? If I am, let me know in the comments. Sean, you're missing this. You're missing the whole point here. You need to reimagine and rethink more. I probably do. But in the sake of me, I'm a business guy. I want to get stuff done. I want to address the issue. And I've been accused by a lot of people in my life, not accused, but just it's been made apparent that I spend all of my day solving mini micro problems. Hey, I don't know what form to use. I'm making an offer. I don't know what form to use. Which one do you recommend? All right, you use form 22A, and on form 22D at the bottom, you write this in. Hey, Sean, I've got a low appraisal. I don't have the comps to support value. What do I do? All right, you're going to go back in time. You're going to analyze that. You're going to write an addendum. You're going to expand your market search out further to include a couple more comps. You need to have a comp with similar, whatever your issue is, 3-car garage to prove marketability for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in the secondary. I spend all day creating solutions. And so when I see this stuff and I see these solutions that are being created and they just make 0 sense to me, I'm going to point them out. But I probably need to reimagine and rethink more. It's just not in my nature. I'm a business owner. I get stuff done because if I don't get stuff done, I don't make money. And my side hustles, my 2 startup side hustles that, have like 50 years total between them of business, they'll go under. If I sit around and reimagine and rethink while the marketplace zooms past me, they'll go under. Just like a lot of people are being killed here in Portland. That's the way I see it. Call me heartless, call me cut and dried. Yep, that's me. Sorry. Business dude who's analyzing crime now. So I'm just giving you my opinion here. The Portland City Council is unanimous in its goal of ending the cycles of gun violence on Portland streets. Okay, so they realize that there's a problem and they wholeheartedly, 100%, they agree that the cycle of gun violence needs to end. Good start, guys. Good start. Excellent start. Let's keep that a-humming. All right, what are you going to do to get there that makes sense to a reasonable human being? It's not this stuff. I honestly don't think so. You got to do something, folks. The harm we are witnessing daily in our community to immediate victims, their families, and surrounding neighbors requires actions that must complement and extend beyond the responsibilities of Portland Police Bureau. Okay, it must complement and extend beyond the responsibilities. Why? Why do we need that? I don't know. There's no explanation here. When the mayor brought forward his proposal, he also offered space for feedback and collaboration. We're reimagining, we're rethinking, we ain't doing nothing. All right, we are in agreement that the city will be more successful in partnership with others. All right, we'll just have to see how that goes. Glad I'm not living in Portland. We need direct interventions with the individuals and families affected by gun violence. Agreed. Those best positioned to do this work are trusted community organizations. That's where I literally scratch my head and go, I don't know. That has never worked in the past. Am I wrong? Do we have definitive examples of this working in a big city with big city crime going on, where you send in a bunch of unarmed civilians and they quell ongoing gun violence, where it's literally like a shooting range on Friday, Saturday night? This last week, it was Tuesday, Wednesday. Do we have examples of that throughout the United States? I don't think so. The whole defund the police concept came from some academic in Norway or somewhere, Sweden or somewhere. They're not working in Portland. They're not working in Chicago. They're not working even in Seattle. And Seattle seems tame compared to Portland right now. Exactly what that community-based work looks like is still taking shape, because we are talking about reimagining and rethinking. We're committed to working. They're committed. We're committed to working together to plan short, not only long-term, but short-term and long-term actions that will result in real system changes. They're committed. There's a commitment here. We've got an ongoing commitment. We are committed to talking about reimagining and rethinking. Again, glad I'm not living in Portland in some of these neighborhoods. We're making important progress. All right. Are we? Or are we just talking here, folks? Together, we can prevent gun violence in the first place. All right. Agreed. We can. But we're going to have to make probably different decisions than what's going on here. That is my opinion. And I am just a real estate guy. I'm just a guy with a couple of side hustles, right? But those side hustles deal with a lot of people in a lot of communities. Those are communities. The people make up the communities. And if you're not protecting those people, not a good look for those communities. And Portland doesn't have a good look right now. And I feel terrible for all the people that are sitting in their homes going, when is this going to be over? I mean, how fearful would you be? You got bullets going through people's homes. You got bullets, going, you read stories about, 12-year-old missed a 12-year-old's headboard by like 6 inches, that kind of stuff. Innocent people getting shot, people just being taken out. And I'm not picking out one or two news stories. This is on the daily. You guys, viewers and listeners, you send me these stories on the daily. And, after a while, I'm kind of like, oh man, another one in Portland. I mean, doesn't their leadership realize that their people are being shot up like a war zone? I don't think they do. And there's such anti-police sentiment that for some reason they're just thinking, we've got to work this out with our trusted community organizations, even though those organizations exist right now and they're not stopping the gun violence. You escalate people within those community organizations, guarantee you some of those folks get shot. It's the same thing as sending out a social worker to handle some of the calls that the cops would normally take. I have been against that from the very beginning. I don't want to see social workers get taken out. And how many social workers are going to be willing to go out there on their own without police support? You want to send a social worker with a cop? I'm okay with that, because at least one of them has a gun. And when you have to deal with somebody who is mentally super unstable and at a point where they're either going to take themselves out or somebody else out, I want a cop there with a gun, because that is last resort. And to save all the rest of the people, you're going to have to make some hard calls. And the only people that are really trained to do that, that's right, are the police. You want to talk about, redoing some of their training? That's fine. You got to change the system. But the police are the best bet you got for right now for quelling the gun violence, in my opinion. It's just nobody wants to admit that. And nobody wants to go, oh, yeah, you know what? You're right. We should probably put some more cops on the street. Just get Johnny Law after it for a while. Get this kind of quelled down. Get it under control. Send in the feds. Do what you got to do. Send in Dirty Harry. You know what I mean? That's what other people are jokingly saying. And don't send in Dirty Harry. He was a cop that vigilante justice, right? You can't have that. That's why I'm saying send in the cops. But a lot of people say, hey, bring Dirty Harry back, because the whole concept is you've got to do something, and the bad guys are out there, and the bad guys are winning the battle right now, hand over fist, because we're not really doing anything. We're coming from a defensive position, and we need to go on the offense. And going on the offense with trusted community organizations, I don't see that as a reality. Maybe you do. Maybe you can show me. Maybe you could show me the light. You can show me where I'm living in a world of darkness, and I just need to have that beam of light come down and show me how this works. In the meantime, I don't know. I'm 52. I've seen a lot of stuff. Not as much as a lot of you guys probably have. But what I never saw was social workers going out to handle these really hard situations, and the rest of everybody going, yep, that's a good call. Let's just roll with that one. This'll work out. I'm okay with this. That's one badass social worker. They're going to be okay. They're going to be okay in this scenario. No, I don't think so. And I don't think I've got a bunch of social workers, people with social worker backgrounds, and I've had feedback. And if you have feedback that you want to go out there unarmed without a police escort into some of these 911 calls that are dicey at best, if some social worker wants to let me know in the comments that can be done, I'm willing to listen. I just don't see it as a reality. So Portland got a lot of stuff going on. We've got some talking about reimagining and rethinking. In the meantime, got a lot of shooting going on. Bottom line, right? And I'm not seeing a solution anytime soon, but this story is hot and this will continue. And as it does, I'll bring it to you right here on the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. All right. Thanks so much for sticking with me on this episode. It's a crazy story, right? It's like you wake up and you go, what world are we living in? Living in 2021. We're getting through the Rona. 2021. Crazy times, right? All right. That's it for me on this one. I will catch up with you guys very, very soon, because I'm recording 3 podcasts a day, releasing 2 Monday through Friday, 1 on Saturday and Sunday. And then something always gets monkeyed up on a couple each week. Sean, you deleted a video file. We couldn't get that to work. Audio, and that was super crappy. So that's why we record 3 a day, so we have more in the chamber to send out to you guys as they are needed. All right. Thanks again. We'll catch up soon. Have a good one. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.